You ever wonder what's really wrecking your car's ride? It's not just potholes, it's habits. Replacing one shock instead of the pair. Parking with the wheels cranked for weeks. Those little things quietly destroy your suspension, and you won't feel it until it's too late. And get this, nearly 10% of mechanical defects that cause accidents come from the suspension or steering system. That's not some theory, that's crash data. I've been wrenching on cars for over a decade, and today I'm giving you 20 brutally simple tips that'll make your suspension ride like new, even past 200,000 miles. Let's jump in. Tip Gen 1 is a mistake I see almost every week, and it costs drivers big time. Stick around, and hit subscribe if you like saving thousands without getting jerked around at the shop. Let's dive in. Tip Gen 20. Stop braking before bumps. Let your suspension work. You'd be surprised how many drivers brake right before a pothole, thinking it'll help. But all it does is shove weight forward and slam your front end down. That means your springs are already compressed, and your suspension travel is gone before the wheel even hits the bump. Now, instead of letting the system absorb the impact, you're forcing that energy into every part from your tires to the shock. I always tell folks, release the brake a second early to let the rebound do its thing. It's all about timing, momentum, and damage prevention. Tip Gen 19, the $12 bump stop that saves you $1,500. This tiny rubber plug? Yeah, the bump stop is the only thing standing between your strut and a $1,500 repair. When it's missing, old, or starting to crumble, your suspension is unprotected during a collapse. All that weight slams into the shock tower, the control arm, or even the chassis, and boom, something cracks. It's a cheap part, but it's serious protection. I've seen one pothole cause full suspension failure just because a $12 part wasn't doing its job to absorb the impact and support the load. Tip Gen 18. Grease those Xerks, the trick most drivers forget. I've seen more tie rods and ball joints die early just because someone skipped a shot of grease. Those little Xerk nipples, they're not decorations, they're access points for real protection. Hit them with a grease gun and you flush out the rust, the grind, and the nasty paste that builds when metal meets heat. It's one of those habits every fleet mechanic lives by, especially on trucks. A 2-minute maintenance move that can extend your suspension life by tens of thousands of miles. Tip Gen 17. Check your ride height 2-minute tape hack. Grab a tape and measure from the center of your wheel up to the fender. Seriously, it takes 2 minutes. That number, it tells you if your springs are starting to sag, if a corner has started to drop, or if your suspension geometry is about to mess up your alignment. A ½ inch of ride height loss can shift camber enough to scallop your tires in 5,000 miles. I tell drivers, make it part of your oil change checklist. If your car starts to lean, that's your early warning. Now that you know how to spot a sag, here's how to avoid causing one during your next repair. Tip Gen 16. Don't torque in the air, the bolt mistake that kills bushings. If you're tightening control arm bolts while the car's on a lift, you're already damaging the bush. They're made of rubber, meant to flex from a neutral ride height, not sit twisted and stressed. I've seen them crack, squeak, or even bind just from being torqued at the wrong angle. Always make sure the suspension is seated, supported on the ground, or at least at ride height, before you grab that torque wrench. Otherwise, every bump just stretches and squishes them more. Tip Gen 15. Low-profile tires, say goodbye to your suspension. Look, low-profile tires might look slick, but they're a fast track to killing your suspension. That tiny sidewall? It barely flexes, so every pothole sends full impact and force straight into your struts, bearings, and control arm. Seen bent rims, cracked mounts, and trashed ride quality, all from chasing a certain look. Add in the load from oversized wheels, and your shock and steering components are eating extra stress every mile. Keep it factory spec unless you like vibration and early wear. Tip Gen 14. That tiny leak? It's melting your bushings. I've seen a little drip of power steering fluid turn a tight control arm bushing into soft mush in just weeks. Hot oil or ATF in the engine bay will soak those rubber joints, soften the seals, and cause early failure or a nasty squeak. That chemical breakdown doesn't just cause wear, it warps the part till it can't absorb pressure or steer right. Your best move? Clean with brake cleaner and fix the leak before it destroys your suspension. But it's not just leaks that wear things down. Your own hands might be doing the damage every time you park. Tip Gen 13. Don't max out your steering. It's killing your CV joints. You ever turn into a parking lot and crank the steering all the way till it stops? That hard full lock is murdering your CV joint. You're forcing the axle to overextend, and that stretches the rubber boot at a crazy angle. In winter, it's even worse. The cold makes it brittle, one hard turn and pop. Now you've got a leak, missing grease, and soon, a crunchy grind. Back off just a bit and give the joint some protection. Tip 12, check after every big hit. Here's what to look for. Hit a nasty pothole? Don't just keep driving. Do a quick inspection. I've seen a single impact bend a control arm, crack a spring, or knock the alignment off just enough to drift your steering and wear out a tire. Pop the hood, grab a flashlight, and look for fluid leaks, a crooked mount, or uneven ride height. If your shock or strut starts to leak, or your coil shows a break, that's your early warning. Before a full failure or blowout happens, let's say the worst happens, a cracked spring or control arm. Before you open your wallet, do this. If any of these tips are new to you, you're not alone. Even a lot of mechanics miss this stuff. Hit that like button if you've ever had suspension work done. It helps more folks find it. Tip 11. Enter your VIN, you might get a free suspension fix. I once had a customer drop $1,800 on a control arm repair, only to find out later it was covered by a recall. Just type your VIN into the NHTSA site. It takes 30 seconds. You might uncover a TSB, warranty coverage, or even a full replacement for a cracked spring, busted mount, or worn bushing. These suspension issues can cause tire wear, alignment drift, or complete failure. And if there's an active campaign, the dealer has to fix it for free. Tip 10, wiggle test your ball joints. No jack needed. Here's a trick I use right in the driveway. Grab the tire at 3 and 9 o'clock and give it a good wiggle. Feel any play, shake, or a dull clunk? That's your ball joint crying for help. It's a quick hands-on test to check for wear or looseness without even jacking the car. That kind of movement messes with your alignment and gives terrible feedback through the steering. Don't wait for it to fail. A few seconds could prevent a nasty roadside knock. Feeling play in the joint? Before replacing parts, sometimes you can bring them back to life. Tip 9, AT25, the rubber Rejuvenator mechanics actually use when I see cracked or dry bushings. I don't replace them right away. I grab This plasticizer actually restores rubber, softens hardened seals, and helps reverse the effects of UV, weather, and aging. Just apply it to visible parts like suspension mounts and let the formula work. It's safe, doesn't swell parts, and kills that annoying squeak. Real mechanics use it for maintenance, not just after damage shows up. Tip 8. Clean your shock shafts. Grit destroys seals quietly. You'd be shocked how much grit and dust ride up your shock shaft every drive. That grime works its way under the seal and causes tiny leaks that kill your strut over time. Just wipe the piston clean once in a while, especially after off-road runs or dirty weather. This simple maintenance step keeps the stroke smooth, prevents damage, and helps protect your suspension from early wear and corrosion. Now that you've kept the shock clean, here's a cheap little mod to make it last even longer. Tip 7. Add dust boots to exposed struts. If your struts are exposed, add a simple dust boot or sleeve to block out grime, debris, and roads. It's one of those cheap DIY mods that actually works. Helps preserve the shaft seal and stops early wear. I've seen cracked rubber from nothing more than skipped protection. Just fit the wrap, clip it in place, and you've instantly upgraded your suspension's weather shield. Tip 6. Protect with coil spring wraps. Winter armor for cheap. Winter roads throw salt, snow, and all kinds of road debris at your coil springs, and that stuff chews through metal like it's nothing. I always recommend a cheap wrap or sleeve. Think of it as winter armor for your suspension. It adds a layer of protection, keeps things from going brittle, and helps prevent corrosion and cracks. Easy to install, dirt cheap, and it'll boost the durability of those springs when the weather gets ugly. But protection only goes so far. Sometimes the real problem is already hiding in plain sight. Tip 5. Inspect shock mounts. The forgotten source of clunks. That mystery clunk over every bump? It's often the shock mount, that rubber top hat sitting above your strut. Most folks replace the shock but forget to inspect the mount, and that's where the wear, crack, or looseness hides. It throws off alignment, causes vibration, and messes with your ride quality. I always check it when diagnosing suspension noise. It's one of those hidden points of impact that silently fails under stress. Tip 4. Use tire pressure strategically. Your first suspension line of defense. Your tire pressure isn't just about safety, it's your suspension's first cushion against road impact. Too low, and you lose control, wear out tires fast, and blow your ride quality. Too high, and the sidewall can't flex, so the shock and joints eat every bump. I tell folks, aim for the right PSI, especially in cold weather, where low pressure hits hard. It's your easiest tool to support proper handling, balance, and keep the suspension doing its job. Tip 3, don't idle it. Drive it monthly to keep rubber alive. Letting your car sit too long is a silent killer. Your rubber bushings, seals, and struts need movement to stay flexible. When you just idle, you don't get the circulation, compression, or lubrication that keeps parts from dry rot and sag. I tell folks, take a short drive at least monthly. Let the suspension bounce, flex, and rotate. It's like a workout for your car. No exercise. That shock might just fail the next time you actually need it. Tip 2, debunking suspension myths. OEM shocks last forever and more. One common myth I hear all the time, my OEM shocks are still fine. Look, just because they aren't leaking doesn't mean they're not worn. Over time, they sag, lose performance, and wreck your ride quality. I've had cars come in with sloppy handling and no visible failure, but once replaced, the comfort and support return instant. Don't buy into outdated advice. Durability isn't forever, and good maintenance is about truth, not belief. Tip 1, avoid the one shock shortcut. Always replace in pairs. I've seen drivers try to save a buck by replacing one shock or strut, and a month later they're back complaining about weird bounce, uneven tire wear, and sloppy handling. It's a classic mismatch. One side's stiff and fresh, the other's sagged and tired. That throws off your brake balance, causes cupping, and ruins steering control. If you want a smooth ride with proper grip, always replace shocks in pairs. That aged damper might not be leaking, but it's lost its rebound and your suspension knows it. Safety final thoughts. And there you go, 20 real-world tips to keep your suspension riding smooth and your wallet out of the fire. Most folks don't think about their suspension until something clunks, leans, or costs them $50. These aren't gimmicks, they're the same habits used by pro mechanics, fleet drivers, and anyone who wants their car to feel tight at 200,000 miles, not trashed at 80K. So don't wait for a breakdown. Pick a few of these tips and start doing them today. You'll feel the difference the next time you hit a bump, and don't wince. And hey, if this helped you, hit subscribe, because I've got more real fixes, DIY checks, and car-saving tricks coming that even most shops won't tell you. See you in the next one.